There's something about those lazy summer mornings by the water that just wraps you up in this quiet promise that life's gonna sort itself out, you know? The pond was glass still, sun just starting to kiss the mist off the old wooden pier, and my little nephew, Tommy, 7, all freckles and boundless energy, was out there with his buddies, piling up these lopsided mud forts like they were engineering the next big thing. Then bam, those heavy, pissed-off footsteps thundering down the planks like a storm rolling in, and before I could even set my coffee down, here's Susan Whitaker, self-appointed boss of the Willow Creek HOA, charging at these kids like she's leading a SWAT team, clipboard slapping against her thigh, her oversized shades slipping down her nose, voice screeching like nails on a chalkboard. These brats are trespassing on community property, and I'm just standing there, heart pounding, thinking, not today, Susan, not on my watch. Look, I'm Jack Harlan, 43, former Navy logistics guy now doing freelance supply chain stuff from home, nothing fancy, but it pays the bills. A few years back, I inherited this pondside cottage from my grandpa, who snapped it up in '84, way before this HOA nonsense popped up like a bad rash. After my messy split from my ex, this place became my anchor-me spot to breathe, to heal, especially when Tommy crashes with me every summer while his mom, my sister, pulls long shifts as a nurse overseas. That pond, it's more than just water. It's where Grandpa taught me to fish, where I scattered his ashes, where Tommy's learning to skip stones and forget about missing his mom. But Susan? Oh man, she had it out for folks like me from day one, single dads, vets, anyone who didn't match her cookie-cutter vision of suburbia. First year here, she slapped me with a fine for my beat-up canoe, calling it a visual blight that lowered property values. Never mind, it was Grandpa's pride and joy. Second summer, she demanded I rip out the pier he built himself, claiming it violated some obscure setback rule she probably dreamed up. By the third, it was endless nitpicks, me hedge a quarter-inch too wild, my mailbox not shiny enough, and she always rolled up with her posse in those matching khaki vests, like a neighborhood Gestapo, all because, deep down, I think she resented outsiders like me who didn't bow to her little power trip. Her way of clinging to control after her own divorce left her bitter and alone. That morning, though, when she barked at Tommy and his friends, "Get off this dock before I call the authorities," and I saw his little face crumple, whispering up at me, "Uncle Jack, why's she yelling?" Something inside me snapped, or maybe it finally clicked into gear. This wasn't just her picking on me anymore. It was her poisoning the one safe spot for these kids, all because she couldn't stand anyone enjoying what she saw as her domain. So I took a slow breath, stepped forward, and said it plain, "Susan, this is my private property, has been since before your HOA was even a whisper." And her face? Priceless, draining whiter than her bleached bob, eyes bugging like I'd just yanked the rug out from under her empire. But that was just the spark. I wasn't done. Next day, instead of chilling with my coffee, I'm hunkered over my laptop, digging into county records, HOA charters, because if the Navy taught me anything, it's that you don't charge in blind. You outsmart the enemy with their own rules. When she showed up again, flanked by her cronies and waving some thick folder of violations, yelling about Section 32B, pier usage restricted during peak hours, I didn't budge. "Is that so?" I said, casual as can be, pulling up my phone. "Mind showing me the vote on that?" Meeting minutes. One of her sidekicks suddenly got real interested in his loafers, and that's when I hit record Missouri's one-party consent. Baby, as long as I'm in the chat, it's fair game. I'd been taping her rants for months, and her smug grin melted into pure panic. "You can't record me," she sputtered. "Watch me." I shot back, flashing the statute right there on screen. "Especially on my land, which this is." Things escalated quick after that. Classic Susan, lashing out like a cornered cat. She flooded the county with complaints, unpermitted pier, eco-threats, the works, all to bury me in red tape. But Grandpa, meticulous as hell, every permit, survey, even soil tests from '84, filed like a military op. I marched into the zoning office with my stack, and the clerk whistled low, "This is gold standard stuff, son, you're clear as day." Turns out, Susan had lodged over 50 gripes that year alone, targeting vets, lone parents, anyone who challenged her. Folks whispered she was jealous of our independence, saw us as threats to her iron-fisted reign over Willow Creek, where she'd manipulated votes to stay in power for a decade. The county even started billing her per filing to curb the abuse. Realizing this fight was bigger than me, I fired up the grill for a neighborhood bash, texted everyone I knew, "Come share stories over burgers," and they showed, plates in hand, spilling tales that boiled my blood. Mike from down the street. She forced him to yank his veteran flag, cause it clashed with the aesthetic. Lisa, the single mom next door, had to repaint her fence twice over a shade of blue Susan deemed too vibrant, even though half the block matched it. That night, under the string lights, we connected the dots. Susan wasn't just a pain. She was a bully thriving on isolation, pitting neighbors against each other to hoard control. But her dirtiest trick hit like a gut punch on knock at dawn from child services, murmuring about reports of endangerment, concerns over a single uncle with kids around. My stomach dropped. Tommy's innocent games twisted into something sinister, all because Susan, in her warped vendetta, saw me as unfit, a vet with issues who didn't deserve this slice of peace. They cleared it in a day. Obvious smear, but the whispers lingered, dirty looks at the store, and that's when I flipped the script. No more defense. My buddy the lawyer unearthed the gem. Riparian rights in the original deed, not just shore access, but ownership 150 feet into the pond, predating the HOA by years, untouchable by their bylaws. Legally, I could lock it all down. No boats, no swims, no nothing, cut off the whole community if I wanted. Instead, I plotted smart, flyers for a pond safety town hall, inviting all. Susan freaked, spewed nasty leaflets calling me a troublemaker vet, clashed with a rival HOA meet, dipped into funds for legal defense, even tried another bogus health inspect call. When that flopped, she stooped lower, staking out my place at night, zooming in on Tommy with her camera like some creepy spy, caught red-handed on my cams, deputies hauling her off for harassment, her protests echoing into the dark. The next night, the hall packed with 80 families, tension thick as fog. I stood tall, heart racing, and dropped the bomb. "Folks, by law, I own this pond outright." Gasps rippled. Susan froze mid-snarl. Then I played the tape, her voice sneering, "That Harlan's just a washed-up sailor, unfit for kids," and the room ignited. Old Mr. Jenkins rose first. I moved to boot Susan Whitaker from the board. Now. Seconds flew, eyes thundered, and when the sheriff cuffed her right there amid the cheers, it felt like sweet justice, her empire crumbling in real time. We overhauled the HOA after term limits, open books, real votes, and I deeded pond rights to everyone but her loyal trio, watching values climb as folks finally bonded, waving across fences. Tommy splashed carefree next summer with his crew. My sister even relocated nearby post-tour. Now, staring at that water, I get it. Community's not about ruling with an iron fist. It's about lifting each other up, especially when life's thrown you curveballs. But hey, what if it was your spot, your family? Would you have played nice or fought tooth and nail? Drop your take below. Ever tangle with a power-hungry HOA tyrant? Was I too harsh, or just dishing out overdue karma? Share your stories. Hit subscribe if you're all about standing tall against bullies, 'cause home's where you fight for your peace, right?